Jeff, David, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having us again.
Hey, thank you,
Good.
Steve.
Yeah, good to have both you guys. We're going to be talking about residential home sales. And before I do, just a reminder to visit the website, selectfincap.com, and get on our free newsletter to get real estate news. But speaking of real estate news, we've seen the number of homes going under contract really drop in April. A lot of people are pointing to high mortgage prices really staying in the way. Now, this is according to the National Association of Realtors had some takeaways on this. Because we saw about a 6.3% drop in signings in April. That really even was worse than the good news of the 5.5% rise in March, kind of going backwards here. Pending home sales fell 2.5% on the year. My first takeaway on this is that either probably rates or prices are going to have to come down to get the national market moving again. But some of your guys' thoughts on this latest data.
Jeff, you want to take it away, or you want me to start?
Sure, I can. Look, I mean, actually, David, go ahead. You're good. Go for it.
My thoughts on that is exactly what Steve was just saying. Something needs to change, obviously, whether it's the raising prices of houses, the market, and for example, Florida is crazy. The houses are totally overvalued, and the rates are rising. They need to go. Something needs to change.
Okay, I think there's a lot of variables. My first one is you've got an entire generation that is seeing interest rates where they are and thinking that that's abnormal or atypical. There's no historical kind of evidence to actually in their minds that would change, that they think rates are too high because they're used to seeing 2, 3, 4%. Historically, rates were in the tens and even at points up to 18, 20, 22%, right? So but pricing was a lot lower, kind of to some of the points you guys are making, but not wildly low. Even when I was in banking in the mid to early 2000s, right, which was right before the great downturn, the Great Recession, rates were still in the double digits, right? Like prime was 8, 9, 10% with and you were getting prime +2, prime +3, and people were happy to get it.
So you were paying way less for a house back then.
No, not way less. Actually, that time it wasn't too wildly different.
Okay.
And so I think there's one generational aspect to it, but there is somewhat of a cooling off period. And I think some of this has to do with people are seeing, excuse me, the same homes, the same inventory out there on the market and sitting. And there's the side where you've got unrealistic sellers to some degree. I read a report more recently that said that there's now more inventory out there than there are buyers. And as a result, you're going to get more creative sales techniques that will come. Your typical realtors that were out there where you had in Florida, it's something like a million or 2 million or 4 million, whatever it is, realtors that are out there. A lot of those people aren't creative enough to know how to get sales done. So I think there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's no one real right, but the variables are there for why the actual why there's been a slowdown.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe we do another video on just housing affordability and prices, because I'm kind of along with the lines with David. Is I do think prices have come up. I mean, there's different metrics to look at it. I mean, one of them is how great of a share of your income do you need to set aside to buy a house. But I do think I kind of agree. The interest rates are really more at a historically normal place, even though people got used to historically abnormally low levels. But I do think that there's some issues with the prices and people being able to afford the prices. And I think one of the things that kind of gives it away is new home sales, where you've seen those be relatively strong, but they've been relatively strong because they've shrunk. And we've talked about this, that they've actually getting smaller. So you're actually getting less house. But that's allowed the builders to be able to offer discounts and other price incentives. Essentially, you're paying less, but you're getting less house. Yeah, you know,
Maybe.
so I do think pricing is a big issue here. But then the other factor you're pointing to, Jeff, too, is you've got a portion of the market here that it just isn't going to take a price cut, especially if it means buying something with a higher mortgage than what they already have.
That's right.
So, you know, I do think, you know, I think the friction we're looking at is going to continue for a while. I don't think this is just a 1 month thing. I think it's going to continue to be probably a relatively low transaction market for the rest of the year, and one where buyers and sellers are not on the same page in terms of what pricing should be.
Well, look, I think, you know, something that we touched on in a previous video is most people don't understand the finance side of buying a house, you know, and actually the true governance that goes, you know, that goes across it for what, you know, mortgage loan originators and the lenders are allowed to provide, and the ratios that they are allowed to top out at, right? Like you could get 50, you can get somebody on their debt to income to get a house that, you know, is you know, quote unquote affordable under the guidance. That's, you know, 50+% of their gross income, not their net income. So, you know, when you start looking at those factors, you know, there's a lot of variables that go into it. It's just not stagnant homes. It's just not high interest rates. There's a lot of things about whether or not people want to afford stuff as well.
No, point on. Hey guys, thanks for the thoughts. I mean, we will be covering the residential house market, I'm sure, more in the future. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Visit the website, selectfincap.com. Get on our free real estate newsletter and look at exclusive commercial real estate investment opportunities. Thanks a lot, guys.